Welcome to our new course on yoga for teenagers. And our program's name is Think of Something Beautiful. And I'm very happy to welcome our friends from China, from Malaysia, Indonesia, and maybe some other places also. And I'm very happy that so many of you have joined, and I hope you can keep on joining. And the issue we want to address is something that is serious all over the planet. Teenagers have a high rate of mental health problems, suicide, risky behavior, and difficulties with adjusting to society. And globally, yoga is being used more and more to help alleviate some of these behavioral issues. So there is now research from different parts of the planet that finds that children who do yoga, teenagers who do yoga, actually their behavior becomes more balanced, their motivation to study is higher, and their uh, uh, risky behavior and the violence or other kind of self-disrespectful behavior is less. And so the idea to bring yoga into the life of teenagers is something very worthwhile. And prevention is much more powerful than cure. In America, it's assessed that teenagers annually de- destroy properties close to the value of 1 billion US dollars. And so these are actually enormous figures. I think in the United States, the figure is every 20 minutes, one teenager will commit suicide. And according to us, this is not necessary. Now, our ability to influence this is, of course, limited, so we do our best. And so the program I want to share with you has three components. There, the one is the sorry, one is the asanas, we call the body and mind rebalancing. You can say biopsychology. Okay, so the first aspect is biopsychology, so the asanas. The second part is the um, quiet time, and those can say meditation. We want to encourage children to practice daily quiet time. And the third aspect is self-analysis. So our teenagers get a better idea who they are as individuals and why they feel things and that they are not alone in the world to feel this kind of emotions. And so there are three aspects. One is the body-mind balancing through asanas, yoga postures. The second one is quiet time. The third one is uh, have deeper understanding of our own minds. So this is how I suggest to do the program. The program we have is basically, the aim is self-discovery. Okay, so it's not really that we are there to tell them. It is more that through the questions we ask and the discussions we encourage that they come to a self-understanding. And so our course focuses on 7 questions. The course has different resources. One is a resource book, and the resource book, every class I will give you the key aspects from this, you can say teacher's guide. Okay? The second thing is there is a workbook. So here there are worksheets, and I also sent you the main the main worksheets that we need to help this, to do this activity. And the third one is a storybook. If you know me, I think you know that I like to tell stories. And these stories are specifically for this course for teenagers. And so there are three resources: teacher's guide, worksheets, and stories. And so this, I will give you the essence every class, so you have the resources to do this program in your own area. Now, this program's implementation, there are different ways. If you can do it on a weekly basis within the school setting, that's nice. If you can do it in holiday time, maybe you have the opportunity to organize specific programs for teenagers, maybe 1 week or 2 weeks. I think these are all opportunities for them, for the children to learn to look at themselves in a new way. And I have a suggestion that if you want to do this program, first try to make a baseline and try to understand the scope of the problems, and if you can get data on maybe school absence, or violence, or recalcitrant behavior, or different, you can make different focus on different areas and try to have some understanding before, and then you do the program, and then you have a new assessment of the same and what you're been researching before. And so we really would like to make this program supported by data, and this is not that difficult. Okay, having said this basic introduction, I think we can start. The resources I have been sending you, they include this one. Okay, so the resource you have, this, I have sent you an outline of some basic yoga poses. So even if you're not a professional yoga teacher or have no experience, with these few poses, you already can help your children develop a more biochemical balance so they can manage their emotions better. And so the yoga poses we do are mostly gentle poses, and there are few focus areas. One is you have to go slowly. I've also sent you this one. So our poses are slow. And so the reason that yoga is different from other exercises, we keep a certain pose for some time, and this way we can affect the brain more deeply. The second one is we repeat the poses. Okay, so if you want to help children balance their hormones or balance their nerves, repetition of the poses is beneficial. And I have put a guideline, actually, I didn't send you, but there is a guideline for how many times the pose has to be repeated. The third one is when you do the pose, try to follow the breathing instructions. And there is yoga with breathing and yoga without breathing actually have different effects. The fourth one is that when you do yoga practice with your students, try to do one pose of the 5 groups which I put down here. And so don't do only all the poses here or only here. Try to do at least one pose from each group. So you don't need to do yoga for 1.5 hours. You can do it 20 minutes, half an hour, and take 1 or 2 poses from each group. Do it slowly, repeat the poses, use the breathing, and after you finish the yoga practice, do the relaxation. So you massage, children massage their body and they relax, so their body develops a new balance. So this is the yoga practice, some of the guidelines I would suggest to you. And for the online class, actually, it's maybe if you require, uh, we can focus one class only on doing the poses. I know many of you already have experience with yoga, so um, I was thinking if I give you this guideline, maybe for now, this can help you. If you have any questions about this, we can discuss this later. But I think this basic, very simple two posters, I think it can help you uh, get started. And don't worry too much. So this is the one area. The second practice we want to introduce to children, the teenagers, is quiet time. And the quiet time we introduce is love for all. Okay, so love to all meditation. You can say quiet time or meditation, depends on your audience. So we like our children sit down, close their eyes, and love themselves. And first send love to yourself, embrace yourself as the way you are. The second step is send love to your family and your friends and those closest to you, and in the whatever the relationship situation, try to send compassion and respect and gratefulness to each and every person around you. The third step is embrace your community. It may be your country, maybe your school, maybe your social groups. So expand from family and friends, expand your circle of love to all you are in touch with, or all who directly or indirectly support you. And the next step is expand your love to the whole world, the whole planet, the whole universe. And so there are actually, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4. Actually, you can say 5 steps from self to family to community to the world and the universe. And I think this practice is already very powerful. And so let's say if you are not convenient to do the yoga asanas, maybe just do quiet time with your students and let them send love to themselves, to each and every aspect of themselves. And this practice of love to yourself is fundamental to everything else we're going to discuss. Okay, so we have already 2 areas. One is about the uh, physical practices. If you need more instruction, I can share more with you in another class. And the second is about quiet time with your teenagers. And this idea of love as a healing factor is universal. It's not only in yoga, but we see it also in modern psychology, and that many of us have mental difficulties because we feel we have been hurt and we feel we have not been loved enough. We cannot force other people to love us, but at least we can train ourselves to love ourselves. So whatever we feel we lack in love from others, we can actually compensate by loving ourselves more deeply and holistically. And it's like I come from a Western cultural background, and in our culture we have this idea of behavior that is like sinful, and that is a very heavy guilt feeling. And this creates a kind of, mentally, this creates a feeling of, I am not a good person, or uh, I'm not living up to expectations. In yoga, of course, we have our discipline, but the basis for our discipline is love. So whatever aspect we have to take it as part of ourselves and make it into something positive. And our process for this is actually this love to all, quiet time. And how long you can sit with your students or participants, it all depends on the environment. I would suggest at least 10 minutes. If you're really scientific, it would take 20 minutes because for the body's biochemistry to change from hyperactive, from external to internal, it takes about 20 minutes for the body to clear these the neurotransmitters and the hormones that make you more extroverted and tense. But even 1 minute is going to be beneficial, and so don't take that as a must. But the longer you can sit with your students in quiet time, the greater the changes in the brain and the changes in the body. Now, what I want to focus on more every evening is to the activities to explore our own personality, and the contents of that is that we are following uh, different aspects of our person, and our our nature, our mind is not one piece. And there are many different aspects. We see that in the brain, and we see that in the mind as well. And in the brain, there is not one place that is your identity. In the brain, we have parts of the brain that can feel, parts of the brain that have memory, part of the brain that has likes and dislikes. But there's not one part of the brain that is only me, only my identity. And so we are many different parts together, neurologically speaking. In the same way, for the mind, actually we operate on many different levels, and there are different aspects of our personality that can jump forward. Now, in yoga, we have this idea that we have an earth personality, we have water, we have fire, we have air, and we have space. Now, in addition to that, we have the mind and we have the soul, the pure soul. And so actually you can say that we have so many different aspects, and every class I want to discuss one aspect. And so today we are going to start with the earth aspect. But the earth aspect doesn't function independently from the other. And so it all affects each other, but for purpose of discussion, we follow this model. And so we start with the first aspect, the earth factor, in our personality. Now the earth factor is the energy that shapes the focus of our lives. And so the earth factor is the foundation for our personality. And so actually, if you want to do from yoga side, we would say the first chakra, and then we have 4 propensities. In this course, I'm trying to use common language, not specifically yoga language. So I try to avoid this terminology of chakras. And so I introduce the earth's personality as the foundation for all our actions. And the earth personality has four directions. I've sent you these pictures also. The first one is what I call the home body. Okay, the home body is the physical longing. So if a person is dominated by the longing for material possessions, for wealth, then that is what we would call a home body. The second personality is the scholar. And so the scholar is the person who has mostly psychic longing, means interest in study, reading books, doing science, research, getting new ideas. I think the picture already shows it. The third type of energy that comes from the earth factor is the idealist. You can say the dreamer. And so the dreamer is somebody who has an ideal and wants to make the world a better place. So this person maybe not so worried about money and is more interested in helping others. And the fourth factor, the fourth energy focus, we call the seeker. And though the seeker is the person who has a spiritual longing, means looking for the deepest aspect of our human life. And so the picture shows a mountain climber who is looking for the next peak and the next peak and looking for the next high top of mountain. And so we have four aspects to our personality. And the physical aspect, the psychic aspect, and then we have this is the physical, the intellectual, and we have the dreamer, the idealist, and we have the seeker. Now, many people are unhappy in their lives because they're living their lives based on maybe expectation and not based on who they are in their deepest nature. And so maybe they have a job, or they have a family, and they work hard for that, for their basic maintenance of the family. But actually their nature maybe is more to be a dreamer, or to do something, to discover who they are. And so many causes of mental depression actually are caused by misidentifying with our true nature. So the first step I want to ask we do with the children is we have to find out who we are as a person. Okay, so this is the first step to self-knowledge. And so we introduce these four directions, and then I sent it to you today. There is a questionnaire, and one way to do it is you can ask children to do it, analyze themselves. And so the first step could be ask the children to number which factor is more important in their lives, the physical or the intellectual, or the helping others, the dream, or understanding who we are as a person. Now, when I give these programs to adults, I found that there's a lot of confusion about this one. Okay, so many people actually don't know that they have actually very deep longing to know who they are as individuals. And so there is this idea that, okay, I go to school, I study, and then they say this, I must be kind of this scholar type. Now this is actually very much one of the causes why people are unhappy, because they do what they're expected to do. Now, we don't want them not to go to school, but we want them to know that going to school can serve their dream to help others, or can serve their, their longing to go deeper and understand their own nature. And so if, like, schools usually train children to pass tests. And so they say you study so you can pass the test. Now, most children, of course, they would like to have good marks, but if they, especially if they are more uh, the seeker type or the idealist type, they don't worry too much about the test, because what they really want is to learn to help others, not to learn to pass tests or have economic resources. And so the first step to help children become more grounded in their own identity, in their real nature, is to explore this one. So one way would be self-assessment. So you can ask children to number, and so which factor is higher up in your own understanding. So maybe you can do this for yourself now, and which one would you put first? You would put the physical, your intellectual, or helping others, the idealist, or you would put your your quest for knowing who you are as number one. And so you can number it, and you can analyze yourself that way. So that would be the first step. Now you have to know, and this is something that many psychologists also emphasize, is that we are very poor in assessing ourselves. Okay, so we usually don't know actually who we are. This is very interesting. Most people, they will say, okay, I work hard for my family, so I must be a material person. Or they say, I'm a student, I must be a scholar-like kind of person. And this is actually because society gives them this kind of identity. And so I went one time to one senior high school, and there were kind of 400-500 people. And I asked them, who of you wants to serve society? Who wants to help others? And out of 500 children, only one girl put up her hand. I was so surprised. And actually, I shouldn't be surprised, because our whole training is to tell children, we tell children, you go to study, you get a good university, you get a good job, you get good income. And then you can support father and mother, which is a good thing. Okay, so don't misunderstand me. But there is more to our human nature. And if children cannot learn to reflect on these other aspects of which are so foundational to their identity, and they are going to be unhappy, and they are going to do crazy things. And so the first step is to find self-knowledge. Who am I as a person? And so the first step could be self-assessment. Now the second step is interview. And so you ask them to sit together or in a group, and I have given you questions. In your teaching resource, there is a framework with questions. And I want to go through the questions so you have an idea how you can use the questions to assess actually what is your interest. And so the first question is, what is something that has been a lot on your mind lately? And so let's say if somebody says, well, I think about my tests a lot. Okay, so then we would put 1 point under the scholar column. Okay, or if somebody would answer, I worry about money, then we would put 1 point on the physical longing. But for example, if somebody says, I worry about money because I want to help my family, then we would put one point under the psycho-spiritual, the idealist. So somebody who worries about money doesn't always mean that he is a material person. And so if somebody answers is I worry about money because I want to build a school, I want to build a children's home, then actually you would put that point here. And uh, let's say if somebody answered the question, says, every day in the morning I wake up and I ask myself, who am I? What am I to do in this world? Uh, where do I come from? Where will I go when I die? And these questions are actually all about our more spiritual, the seeker identity. Okay, so we have the same question can have different answers, and you use these answers to assess the other person. Okay, so for every question, you will get you mark which column you feel the answer comes from. Now let's say we go to the second question. We go top down, okay? Name at least 3 things that make you feel proud. And so here we want to find out what makes the other person fulfilled. And so let's say if the person says, I'm proud of my tests, then we would say, okay, this person is more scholarly, more psychic interest. If a person says, I'm proud of my family, I would put that in the third column. And if somebody says, I'm proud because, we have a new car and we have a new home and I'm going nice holidays, we put that in the first column, the physical longing. And if somebody says, I'm proud of, because every day I can sit down for my quiet time and I can feel the love for everybody, then we would put that in the spiritual column. Okay, so through these questions, we try to assess the other person. Okay, the third question, just to give you idea, because we have done this before and then there was some confusion, and actually the questions are very nice, and these are questions we usually don't talk about. What makes you feel useful when helping others? And this is also a very good question. So some people say, okay, I bring money. We would put that more on the physical side. Another person maybe can say that it's I bring many good ideas in my family. I inspire my family and to have discussions and to have a lot of stimulating thoughts, more mental. And I am proud of. I feel I'm useful because I help people who are in need. Maybe older people, maybe special needs, maybe children, fellow classmates with mental problems. Then we would put that in the third column. And then let's say the last one is that I feel useful when I do my meditation and I inspire other people to do meditation, a quiet time, and develop love and compassion for everything. Then we will put that in the fourth column. And so there is a lot of flexibility, and it's quite subjective. So when you get the answers, you try to, and after a few times, I think everybody will get more and more comfortable with this. Now, because many of us, we are in classroom settings, we can use this to encourage our students to share with everybody. Okay, so one way could be for writing. Another way could be use these questions to, to ask them to speak about themselves. Okay, so you could, let's say you would, like many of our uh, teachers today, they know that we do storytelling. Now, let's say if the children are a bigger age, the teenager age, they have maybe can learn, develop the ability to make speeches. And the topic here is who am I? And so a person would learn to talk about him or herself through these questions. And so he would say, the person maybe will say that um, I think I am a person who is more interested in helping others because I think a lot about the problems in the world. I see news, I see war, I feel very painful. The second question, if they want to bring in the second question, this, because I see this suffering in the world, I, I do my best to raise money to send to these poor families. And it makes me feel very fulfilled and happy. And I also uh, share the news about helping others with other people. And so we can use these questions to ask children to make a small speech about who they see themselves, how they see themselves. And so this is uh, this is one way to make your this kind of training. Sorry, to make this kind of training part of your maybe English teaching or maybe your civics class or I don't know, you have your other subjects where you could fit this in. And so I hope you can see that this kind of program doesn't need to take away time from academic studies. Actually, when children are more motivated and more inspired, uh, they are going to uh, be better academically. Okay, so this doesn't need to conflict actually with your aims for getting better tests. And actually, it helps you to motivate students uh, to do better in their academic work. So this, I hope I can clarify this. And so so I hope you understand that this first question is who am I? And develop this self-knowledge. The aim is to get these unconscious longings we all have in line with our conscious thinking. And so conscious thinking means rational, okay? Rationally, teenagers mostly think I'm a student and I'm studying. So I like to study. But unconsciously, there are many other factors. So, for example, in my life, when I was a teenager, I developed physical problems. I got a headache. And but my mother, she she was so amazing. She saw a program on TV and they were talking about meditation can cure headaches. I was 15, she took me for meditation and I've never stopped. It cured my headache and I feel, though I didn't know that time, but personally inside me, I had this spiritual longing. I want to know who I am. I wanted to give more meaning to my life. I could not express because there was nobody to talk to me about these things. So it became a physical problem. I got headache. So and once I started to do meditation, after some time, these problems were resolved. Because I think my mother kind of regretted because every time she wants me to eat, and I said, no, I have to do meditation. And my mother said, food is on the table and you have to do your meditation again. And you're, but it kind of got me through my teenager years in a better way. And so, if the inner longings are not aligned with our conscious thinking, with our rational thinking, subconscious and conscious thinking, then we get physical problems and we get behavior problems. So if somebody understands who they are, who they really fundamentally are, then their behavior is going to become more balanced. So, but if you live externally, you live yourself one way, and internally, you have different longings, then you're conflicted, and we become difficult for ourselves, become difficult for others. And so, in the worksheets I have sent you, I think that is what I sent you this time. There is another activity you can do. Is these four kind of personalities. You can help children think about famous people in history and where would they fit in. And so, for example, and then probably everybody has to think about people from their own culture. I think more from the Western point of view, but let's say Confucius. What kind of person is he? Would he be a material person? Would he be a scholar? Would he be somebody who wants to help others? Or did he have a deep spiritual connection? And so Confucius, I don't know how you analyze him. Was he a spiritual man, or was he just a philosopher, intellectual, or was he really motivated by compassion and love for others? It's a discussion, okay? We could think about Schweitzer, Albert Schweitzer. Albert Schweitzer, he did a lot of service, and he was a deeply religious man. And so we could try to analyze famous people and use these four foundational qualities. We could look at maybe presidents, maybe authors, Tolstoy, Dostoevsky, all these people actually, they were great authors, great humanists, they were very deeply seekers, looking for the truth within the human experience. And so this is actually is a very interesting approach. And so that is a second activity you could do. First, analyze yourself and your friends. Then analyze famous people. And a third activity is we could try to integrate other personality tests with these four we have done. And so I don't know if you know the Myers-Briggs personality index, and they have this MBTI. There are a lot of famous tests online, and they speak about introverted, extroverted, conscientiousness, agreeableness, and neuroticism. But you can go online to do this. And what I would like you to do, and this is kind of homework for you, okay? I would like you to try to link the common personality tests with these four qualities. Okay? And I would like you to send it to the chat group. And then, we can discuss it in the group, or we can discuss it next week. And so there are different personality tests, and most famous that I know of is the MBTI. If you type MBTI, MBTI, If you type MBTI, Google, you can find plenty. I think Baidu also must have information. Try to use these common personality tests and then link it to these four aspects of our yoga psychology. And the reason I do encourage you to use these four and not to use the MBTI is that many of these common personality tests focus on traits. So let's say a person is maybe extroverted, but people find that he may be extroverted, so maybe you think maybe he's a good salesman, maybe sit at the front desk, but maybe his behavior is extroverted, but his person may be introverted. And so these trait tests, nowadays people actually, they still do the tests, but they don't rely on these tests that much because sometimes the test, the behavior and the actual personality, there seems to be a difference. Yeah, so I would like you to encourage you to go deeper, use the four qualities, and try to integrate some of those personality tests which are common outside and try to connect them to our four main drives. Now, the beauty of our yoga practices is that if a person is more physical focused, there can be a shift through the practices to becoming more studious or become more compassionate or become more spiritual. Spiritual means focused on the question, the bigger questions of life. And so the four factors are not fixed. And so maybe we can do the test today, analyze yourself, ask the questions, do the presentation. Maybe after 6 months you get a different answer. And that is the beauty. And I think this also gives the teenagers a feeling that, I keep changing and I have to keep reinventing myself. And so and that is, I think we all learn anyway, that whole process of life is ongoing change, never-ending change. Now, I want to share one story with you that can help with these four factors, okay? And those of us who attended the program in Kunsan last week, they heard the story, but I think it's applicable. So I want to share with everybody. So there was a king, and the king, he had been a king for a long time, and he felt that he should step down. Now he had 3 sons, and he told his sons, go into the world, come back after 1 year, and I will see who will be the next king. Now there were 2 brothers who were smart, and the 3rd brother was kind of foolish, okay? And so the 2 brothers, they were kind of very proud, and they very ambitious, driven. And the 3rd brother was kind of, just nice person. So they left home, and the first brother was very good with weapons. So he learned, he knows how to fight. So he came to another country, and there was a king, and the king had difficulty with a neighboring king. There was war, and so when this brother came, and he said, I will handle it. And he fought the other king, and he won. And that the king was so happy. He says, I let you marry my daughter. So that first son became very powerful in the other country. The second son, he was more interested in studies. So he went to, I don't remember if it was a university or he went someplace to study and he became a professor and many people came to listen to his talks. And the third son, he walked around and he really didn't know where to go. And he was in the forest and he came to a house and there lived an old woman. And he saw the old woman was all alone and she was not so strong anymore. So he said, let me help you. So he helped the woman to cut the wood and plant the vegetables and manage the home. And every day he served her, took care of her, helped her. Now after 1 year, he told all the three brothers they had to go home, back to their father. So he told that old lady, Mother, I have to go to see my father. And the old woman said, I want to thank you. Said, I give you a basket. And the brother said, you don't need to do that. I was very happy to help you. He said, no, you take this basket, and in the basket, there are many stories. And so he said, okay, if you insist, I will take your basket. Thank you so much. So the three brothers, they went back, and the two brothers quickly went inside the palace, and they went to their father and said, Father, look at me. Now I am a king in another country, and my wife is the prince, the queen, and we have this big land, and we have this so much treasure, and we are so powerful. My father nodded. Then the second brother said, Father, I went to this university. There are so many books. I read all the books, and I love these books, and now I have become professor. And when I give talks, people come even from other countries to listen to my talks. And the father again nodded their head. And the third, then he said, but where's the other guy? And they looked outside and they saw that the third brother was sitting outside. And there were so many people around him. And father said, let's go and see what he is doing. So they went outside and they saw he was telling stories from the basket. He had opened the basket and somehow all these stories from the basket came out from his mouth. And the people were laughing, the people were crying, and the people were clapping, and the people were so mesmerized by the stories. And when the father said, now son, you have to come. And all the people, they embraced that son, and they said, we love you, you give us joy. And the son said, it is not me, it's just the stories. And so they went inside, and the father said, well, my sons, I'm happy you all found a way of living. And he said, first son, I see you have much. And second son, he said, you know much. And he said, but the third son, he gives much. So to be a king, you have to give. So the third son will be the future king of my land. And so then he became the king, and the father left the palace and went into the forest. So this story is actually about the 4 qualities we have. Okay, so the first son is more the physical longing. He has much. The second son, he knows much. Okay, so he is more the scholar. The third son is more the dreamer, the idealist. He inspires, and he shares his dreams, and he shares his hope. And the people who suffer, they're inspired, and they see their lives with more joy and hope. And then the fourth one, the seeker, that's the Father. The Father is actually done with the world. He doesn't want to be the king anymore. He wants to go to the forest, find his inner peace, and find his own inner beauty. And so I think this story is a traditional story. I think it is a story from Finland. But this story represents so beautifully the four foundation of Earth, and the Earth personality, the four factors that everybody lives by. And so through these activities, through the story and the interviews and analyzing famous people, we want children to reflect on their own foundational qualities. And I encourage you, you can try this out. You have to understand why. Okay, so I review one more time that if these unconscious longings are not in tune with our conscious lives, means external lives, with our social identity, we come into conflict. And so why so many people are unhappy? Because they feel something inside and they live something else outside, and they don't know how to bring this together. Now, the first step is to recognize the problem, okay? So if we can understand, okay, I'm a student, I need to study, I want to study, but my purpose of studying is not to become a rich man. Maybe I want to learn to study because I want to help people. Or I want to study because this helps me, and if I understand about the world, I can understand more about myself. And so this is the basic questions we want to work with. And um, there are many examples in the world, people who make big changes in their lives, and all of a sudden they find out that the lives that they have been living is actually not who they are within themselves. And so these unconscious factors and these, you can say, these propensities we have for something, this inclination, unconscious inclination, they may push us one way, and our external life pushes us another way. And when we are in conflict, then we suffer. And so I think this is a nice activity to start, and this journey of self-discovery with your students. And if you have chance, try it out. If you have time, and it doesn't take much time, try to match the four factors we give you and the four aspects of the Earth personality, and uh, link that with traditional personality tests. And I'm very excited about that. I really hope some of you can do that and share that, because you will see that these four factors actually can cover all the other things that people work on. And so this will help us also to understand each and every aspect in more complex detail. Okay, this is all I wanted to share, and I don't know if there are any questions or if there is anything you want to share.
Teacher Tang, I have a question.
Sure. Can you tell your name?
For the 25 questions, the last column, question is, what's the root of your most recurrent feeling? I'm not so.
Okay, so the question is about this.
What's the root of your most recurrent feeling?
The questions we're talking about are here, and this is the before the last question. What's the root of your most recurrent feeling? So, let's say let's talk about dreams, okay? So I have this dream. I lose my luggage. Every time I have a dream, I lose my luggage. And then I ask myself, why do I always dream about losing my luggage? Sometimes I wake up and I have to check, do I still have my bags or not? It's really something that is very deep inside me. And so there is anxiety. And so the root of this kind of thoughts or feelings is basically anxiety. There is some anxiety somewhere deep inside. And so, for example, if your recurrent feeling means the feeling you have regularly and coming up all the time, let's say you think, let's say you have a business, and you think about how other people run their business, and you feel kind of conflicted. Maybe you feel jealousy, maybe you feel pressure to work harder, and so you feel that your own work is not as good as or successful as somebody else. So what is the root of that feeling of not being successful enough? So then you have to go back to where do you feel you're not satisfied with your own performance? And again, is this a problem that you see you're not making enough money, or is it because you feel other people are smarter, or do you feel they help more people, or do you feel they are more advanced in their self discovery journey? So this kind of this is how I would see that question. So it is, and later on we will go deeper into asking yourself questions. So we have the 5 whys, So somebody will say, I'm hopeful. Okay. Myself, I'm a hopeful person. Though I have these dreams about losing luggage. But anyway, I'm basically a hopeful person. So why do I have hope? Then you can ask yourself, it gives me joy. Now, why do you get joy from hope? Because I see I can maybe help people have better lives and help people think more about their own futures in a positive way. Now, why do you want people to live happier lives? Then you come to the last question is because I feel connected to other people. And so you come finally, if you ask the 5 whys, basically you come to the root of all your thoughts and feelings. And actually, later in the course, we will bring up this kind of thinking. But you could use that already here. Yeah, thank you for the question. And so if you feel some of the questions are too complicated for your students, just edit them, okay? So don't take this as you must follow every step. You can adjust it, be flexible. Any other questions?
Teacher Tom.
Hi.
Hey, I'm Julie. And
Julie.
I think I am the idealist. I want to ask you for 2 of your stories. I can't remember the name. One is that maybe the mouse he's chasing a bloom, and the bloom is his dream. And he to pass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Amy already told me. I will record it for you, okay?
Thank you. And another is a prince, and he put on his donkey skin.
Oh, that one. That one.
Countries.
Yeah. I know. The donkey skin. That's also a nice story.
I like your stories.
Thank you. I write it down and I think I will make a video and then, because they are useful. I think most people who are online today are idealists. If not primarily, may at least second. Otherwise, you know. So this very happy you could join, and I like to close the evening. I don't want to take much of your time, so I try to stick to 1 hour. I hope you understand that work we want to do is we want to work with teenagers to help them develop more positive and insightful perspective on who they are, and so that children don't need to become so desperate that they want to kill themselves. And this is happening around the world. And the way we see it is a problem of education. And of course, families are one issue, but yoga practice, quiet time, and discussions about the mind can prevent many of these issues. So I want to encourage you to stick with us. We have 8 classes. So the whole program I try to give you to this, and I hope you can help others. I think we are going to sing a song, and then we're going to have rest. Mama Nama Kevala, 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 Mama Nama Kevala. Thank you to the organizers